Hello, scrapbooking buddies. Debbie Martin here. We're here for our third edition of the Savvy Scrapbookers, and this month we're using Q the Blue. So once you watch this video and you make your pages, you're going to want to go down below to the descriptions, and you're going to look for the Lazy Scrapbooker, which is Donna Guest, and look for the link for Nicole Scrapbooks, which is Nicole Sew, and so that way you can make all the pages, all 6 pages, by using the one paper pack, the one vellum pack, and the one embellishment pack. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is go to your vellum pack. We're going to show you some little techniques to use vellum today. And we're pulling out this one. It's a medium blue. There's a darker blue in there. It kind of looks like a water design almost. So pull that paper out, and we're going to be cutting that into 4 3x12 strips. Okay, so get that paper pulled out. And what I want you to see is once you pull it out, there's a side that looks a little brighter. This one looks a little duller. So you're going to decide which side you want to use when you're putting it down on your page. Today I'm using a little bit of the brighter side. It doesn't really matter how you cut it, but we're going to be cutting it into 4 3x12-inch strips. So the vellum's going to cut very similar to the regular paper. You're just going to want to make sure you line it up straight and make sure, because we're going to be punching this in a minute, so we want it to be all nice and straight. You're going to want to make sure you have a nice sharp blade too. That's going to give you a cleaner cut on vellum paper. Okay, so once again, we're cutting 4 3x12-inch strips. Okay. So we'll set your trimmer aside. You're going to need that in just a minute. And we're going to pull out the border maker system. I am using the woven scallop. I love this one. Let me pull it up to the camera so you can see it. It's so pretty. This is one of those you can only buy from an advisor. So contact your advisor so that she can get you one of these before they're gone. Okay, so if you haven't used the border maker system, I'm using the fun special edition one that just came out in November. But it has a paper guide that keeps underneath here. So as you use it, you pull it around, and we are going to put it in here, and it's got strong magnets here that's going to hold our paper, which is a good thing as we punch. So then we're going to flip the paper guide back around. There's a little groove and a big groove. And all the cartridges have a little and a big groove, okay? So we're going to go ahead and put it in here. There's also a notch here and a notch here that we're lining up each time, okay? So as it goes in, you can see it really goes in there, and then as I pull it out, it wiggles, 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 and then it goes into the grooves again. Another way that you know you're using it correctly. So we're going to match the notches up, and then each time, especially with the vellum, I think it's a little easier if you pull it out straight and then put it back in. Sometimes I leave it in and just scoot it down, but the vellum seems a little more delicate. So we're just going to pull it out each time and then match up the notches as we slide it back in. Okay, so we're going to do that 4 times and then just line those up. Okay. So here we go. We're going to do it again. You flip the paper guide around. Go ahead and put this in here. And slide it in and match up the notches. Okay. Vellum's been around for a while. I haven't used it a lot. I've used it in cards, but I haven't really used it in scrapbooking. So I had a retreat last weekend, and a few of my customers were saying, we really don't know how to use it. So which kind of led us into, let's try to use this in our next collaboration and just see what we can come up with. So that is what we're doing. And you're going to get to see different techniques done by the other 2 ladies too. So don't forget to go watch their videos. Okay, flip this around. And punch. I really like, this is a darker vellum, so you're going to see that you can actually use repo tape on a darker vellum sometimes, but I'm also going to show you the vellum tape so you can see that too. Because you can't use regular tape. You will see it right through the vellum, okay? So one more time. And I always make sure there's no little gunkies left in there. So, and if there is, just shake it out. Okay, flip it around. We're going to punch one more time with this. And what I like to do when I'm making my pages, I like to cut everything first and then put them together. So I do that on my paper pack to pretty pages too, which is kind of similar to what we're doing here. I take a paper pack and turn it into 8 pages. So you can check that out on my website too. Now we've got those all cut. And let's just get rid of all this garbage. I always like to look at the garbage before I throw it away. You might want to use it for something. You just never know. We are also going to take the darkest blue one that's in here. It looks like this. It has like, I don't know, it looks like waves going this direction or some type of a pattern going that direction. And we are all sharing this piece of paper, okay? So you're seeing a full sheet, but we cut it into thirds so we could all have just a little piece of this. So what we're going to be doing with that one is we're going to be using the double rickrack. So where I've got the border maker system out, this is what the double rickrack looks like. Okay. And we put the kind of the waves going in that direction, okay? And we're going to punch 2 times. I'll put this over here so you can see it. We're going to put that in. We're going to punch 2 times with the rickrack border, which is actually going to give us 4, okay? So we'll go ahead and you do the same thing. Look how fun that is. This one's a little bit more delicate, so be careful as you slide it out. But very fun. Okay, let's just pull that off so it doesn't rip it. And if it does, it's very easy to put it back together, okay? So we're gonna put those 2 up here. And this one also has one of those double-sided looks, like one side's a little darker than the other, which we'll talk about when we put it down. It doesn't really matter which way you're punching it, okay? And punch with this one more time. And then we're gonna be done with our border maker system for right now. See, very delicate as it comes out because it leaves that little tiny strip that you don't need. So just be a little careful with it. You really don't have to do this when you're using cardstock. It is much easier to work with, but this vellum is delicate and beautiful. I'm gonna pull that off so it doesn't get stuck in there. And so you can see it on the camera. So if I am working too fast for you, just make sure you go ahead and pause this and then catch up. And then, or maybe you're just watching it for the first time, you're gonna go back and make it later. That is fine too. A lot of people do that. Okay, so this paper, we don't wanna use it anymore because we're sharing that piece of paper. Okay, so now we're gonna move. We're also sharing one more piece of paper. And that is the one with the lines. Now, I don't know if you know it or not, but you can journal on vellum. Very interesting. You want to use our markers and any of our pens because they're not going to bleed or run. You would want them to completely dry, okay? But today I'm not using it for journaling. I am going to use it just for little tiny strips. So because we are sharing it, everybody will have a third, but I'm only needing, I need 4 3/4 by 12 strips. Okay, so when I'm gonna put that, we're putting it in horizontal and I'm putting it in at the 3/4. So you can either cut it right here or right here, whichever way seems to be easier for you. I kind of, when I'm doing like under 1 inch, I tend to cut over here a little bit more, but that is just me. So we're gonna do 3/4 of an inch, and we're gonna do that 4 times. So there's 1. And each time you just wanna make sure that the paper's lined up nice and straight. 2. 3. And 1 more. And if you're getting kind of a weird cut with your trimmer, if it's not cutting clean, there's a couple things I'm going to show you that you can check. Okay, when you start getting like a blunt edge or it's not clean, make sure, like, you can see that. I'm going to pull this up here in case you don't know about this. This mat comes in here, and there are 4 different ones. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each one of them does about 500 cuts. And as you can see, I'm on 4 right now. So I am about ready for a new mat. Your straight blade is going to do about 2,000 cuts. So when you're ready for a new one of these, you're probably ready for a new one of these. So keep that in mind if you start getting, because I'm sure before long, I'm going to need a new one, okay? So then we're going to set this aside because we're sharing that one. Then you're going to pull out like this painted one. It looks like this, like somebody took a giant paintbrush. And it doesn't really matter which direction you're going to do. We're just going to cut this in half, okay? So we're going to cut that at the 6-inch line. Okay, so that it's in half, because that's going to be shared between the pages, the 2 pages that I'm doing. Okay, so let's make sure we got all of our pieces. We've got all the paper cut. We need our mats now. So I am using the darkest one in your paper pack. This came from the paper pack. This is from the paper pack. And this is the one on the back side. It's got this graduate. I can't even say that word this morning. I need more coffee. Hello. It's got lines going this direction, and it's the dark blue one. So we're going to put it in, and we are going to cut it horizontal. If you cut it vertical, not a big deal, because these are just going to be our mats, okay? And we are going to do 4 4x6 and 3 4x4. So we're going to put it at the 4-inch line right there. Okay. We're going to need our little arm out, so we can take that out to the 6. And then we just pile all of our mats up together. We're going to do that one more time. Put it at the 4. And the 6. The more I work with this Q the Blue, I am loving it. I feel like blue goes with anything. It really does. It's almost a neutral. Okay, we're going to put this one in. Instead of putting it at the 6, we're going to put it at the 4. Okay. So we've got 3 4x4s. Perfect. Okay, so now we are done cutting. We are ready to start putting our pages together. So depending on where you're doing this, and whether I'm the first one you're doing or the last one you're doing, you should have paper that looks like this. This is what we're going to use for our base, and I'll pull it a little bit closer so you can see it. Let me make sure that you can see this nice and close. Okay, so we have this one that looks like little daisies. Pull that so you can, the back side of it has like a geometric design. Now, when you're doing this, if you want to use the other side, go right ahead. Some of our papers are darker, so I picked the lighter side on this one. This one has got the royal blue, kind of like a tile look, but I'm using the one that's just all splotchy, okay? So you pick whichever side you want to use, okay? And now we're ready to start putting everything together, okay? So let's grab my notes so I don't forget anything. Okay, we're going to start with our 6x12 pieces of paper. Now, I love this piece of paper. Like, I've used it on other pages I've done. I really wanted to use it on this one because I absolutely do love it, but it ended up being a little bit too busy. So sometimes you got to keep that in mind when you're doing pages. Okay, so if you want them centered and you're using mats, super easy. We've got 1, 2, 3 inches up here, 1, 2, 3 inches back here. It's going between the 9 and the 3 on this side and the 3 and the 9 on this side. It's nice and straight. You don't have to think about it. So I love using 2 mats when I'm scrapbooking, or you can just grab a simple ruler and do it that way. So once again, I'm going to put it on at the 9. I know it's going to be straight. I'm going to bring it over here to the 3. And I love using repo too. Okay. And we're going to do the same on this side. So you just want to make sure that your page is actually lined up perfectly on both sides. So go ahead and put your adhesive on the 6x12 piece. And if you have not subscribed to the page, stop right now. Click that little subscribe button and the little bell button. That way you don't miss any classes and anything that I'm doing online. Okay, so we've got our 2 6x12 pieces down. Now we're going to take these beautiful woven pieces. Remember, if you don't have one of these, contact your advisor. She can get you one of these before they're gone. Okay, so once again, see how this has got a little bit of a more muted side. This is a little brighter. Because the background's a little busy, I chose to use the brighter side, but you can use either side you want. And then I just want to make sure that I use that brighter side on all of them. Now, I'm overlapping because I really want to see this beautiful woven that we just punched. So I'm kind of overlapping, make sure I'm using the right side. Yes, and yes. So that's what we're going to be doing first. So I'm going to show you a couple different adhesives. Now this is the vellum. It's kind of sticky and almost, it pulls a little bit. So you can use that. I'm going to show you and see how it's like, it doesn't even come off evenly. It just kind of, I don't even know how to, it's rubbery almost. Okay. Or we can use, I'm going to use the repositionable tape, which is the little tiny dots. Okay. So I'm going to show you how both of them look. So I'm overlapping this just a smidge. And when I'm doing it, because I'm going to want this other side, I'm kind of noticing where it is here. So it's about 1/8 of an inch up from the 1 inch mark on both sides, if you can see that. Okay, that way when I'm putting it on the other side, it's going to match too. You can look at the design. Now you can put it down. Now you're not seeing the vellum. You can see, if you look really close, when you're using lighter vellum, you can see it a little bit more. Where I put it, if you take a multi-purpose tool or a bone folder and just hit it like that, it's going to disappear. But also with the darker color vellums, as you can see, I put the repositionable down here. You can't see it either. So you can use whichever one you want, but go ahead and put all of those down. I definitely want to protect the intricacy of the woven part down here because I wouldn't want to get it caught on a page protector or anything when I'm putting my pages together. And then down here, I'm going to want to do the same thing. I'm coming about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, look how beautiful that is. Go ahead and put all 4 of those down. Okay, and we're going to keep putting this stuff together. I hope you're enjoying these collaborations. Let me know. Let Donna know. Let Nicole know whether we want to keep doing these. We've kind of committed to doing them for a year, and we're super excited about it. But I'm hoping that you guys are too. We've been getting really good feedback from everybody. Okay, and put our last one down. And I don't know why we're doing this. If you understand how YouTube works, when you subscribe, that way you get, it'll pop up that we've posted something. But when you click the little bell, you get notified that we've done a video, which is kind of cool. That way you don't miss anything, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we have these little tiny strips that we cut with the lines, okay? So let me push this up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to take our rickracs and we're going to run them straight down the middle of these strips, okay? Push that a little bit higher so you can see what I'm doing. Now, once again, the rickrack has a darker side. And this one's actually a lot darker. I don't know if you can see that with my lighting, but I really want to pull the darker side out this time. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put my adhesive on the lighter side, okay? And then we're going to run it down straight down the middle of the strip. And it really pops. Okay, there's one. So go ahead and do that for all of them. Put your adhesive, just double check and make sure you're putting your adhesive on the side that you want, and that's a personal preference thing. Got this little cold. I cannot shake it. Literally had COVID like a month ago, and it's like the little cold that won't give up. I've tested and tested and tested, and I'm negative, but still got a little bit of a cold. I don't know if anybody else has been dealing with that, but it's a little bit crazy. Like, I'm done with it, really. My voice sounds like a man's voice today. Oh, but you know what? It don't matter. We're scrapbooking. It's raining here, and we're having a good day. So, rain is better than snow. I mean, I live here in the Midwest, so I'd much rather have rain than snow. So this is the darker side, and let's go ahead and put that on there. Oh, and I want to tell you too, in a couple weeks, I'm going to be getting together with the other Savvy Scrapbookers. So you are going to want to watch. We are actually going to choose live on YouTube. We're going to choose what we're going to be doing next. So that's going to be kind of fun. So that's in a couple weeks. You can watch for that. Okay, so now we've got our 4 little strips. And I'm just going to go ahead and use straight down the middle a little bit of repo because it's not going to show. Now, you can either bring it up here and put it here. I kind of like the look where it's the rickrack is covering the line where it met. So you're just going to need to pick a line, which I'm going to pick the 1/2 inch line and run it straight down there. So then when I come over to here, I'm going to be able to repeat that again. I'm going to put it at the 1/2 inch line. Okay. So the top edge of this is at the 1/2 inch line, just like that. Okay, then I'm going to show you some other little things with the mats. So a little something different, so hang on for that. And this one is also going to be at the 1/2 inch line. That way you're making sure it's nice and straight. And then we've got to put our embellishments on. So once again, let's drop that down with a little crooked, which is another good reason we're using our mat. Let's make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, there we go. So now we're ready for our mats. So when I go to put my mats on, this is kind of what I think sometimes. I almost always use just regular mats, and these are the ones that we cut. So we can simply go in and put them in just like this. Of course, we're going to make them straight. And maybe one like this, and 2 of these. You're going to end up with an extra one this time that maybe you can use on a different page. So this looks good. I like it like that. But sometimes when I look at it from a design standpoint, I see like this is rounded. And these, usually a zigzag's more pointed, but it's actually rounded. So I played with a corner rounder, which, you know, we all love and used, you know, 25 years ago, and I still love it. Now look how much better that looks corner rounded. It really softens the edges, which just means when I go to put my picture down, I'm going to want to do the same thing with my picture. If you don't have a corner rounder, don't worry about it because it still looks fine straight, but I just really liked the way it looked with the corners all rounded. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. If you don't, that's fine too. But sometimes it gives it a different look too. You don't want all your pages to look the same. Now, here's another little thing I like to do. And once your picture's on, you're really not going to notice it very much. But when I'm putting my mats down, I like the designs to go the same direction. Okay, so I don't know if you can see. I've got my lines going vertical right now. So when I go to put these down, I could put that horizontal. It gives it a little bit of a different look because it might end up being a journaling box that maybe you see. But I kind of like to put them all the same. So I have my 4x4s also all vertical. Okay. So, and then when you go to put your pictures down, it's really they're going to pop. Isn't that fun? Okay. So let's go ahead and let's adhere these so that we can do our embellishments. So another little thing I try to do is I look at it and go, okay, I've got about 1 inch of space here, little less than 1 inch of space here. So I'm probably going to want to scoot that over. It just gives it a really balanced look, okay? So go ahead and grab your adhesive, and we're going to stick these down so that we can do the fun stuff. So I'm going to put that right there. And here. Write in the comments, do you corner round? Or is that something you don't do? It's something I used to do all the time. Like every single picture I had, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to corner round it. It was my favorite tool. And then I kind of got away from it for a while. And I've kind of went back to it. I don't do it on every page, but I gotta mix it up. So let me know what you think about that. Put that in the comments, whether you corner round or you don't corner round. I'm gonna scoot that over just a smidge. And then go ahead and put the last 2 down. To corner round or not to corner round? That is the question. Okay. So let's go and let's grab some embellishments so that we can finish off our pages. So once again, we shared the embellishment. So don't say, oh, I don't like your embellishment, I'm going to pick somebody else's, because then you probably will mess up somebody else's page. Okay, so what we have here is, I'm going to make sure I put my pages in the right way, which of course I didn't. So we can just switch that around if we want, because that's what I did. There we go, from my samples. Okay, so switch your pages around if you want them to look like mine. If you don't, you just do it any way you want. So I'm grabbing these two, they're out of the embellishment pack. And we're gonna bring this one up here and then kind of pop that one over to the side a little bit. And then I'm putting this one, because the blue kind of gets lost a little bit. And then we're gonna be using the Remember This. Okay, so that's kind of the order it's going to go. So the Remember This, I am going to want to put a foam square on. So let's go ahead and stick these embellishments down. Okay, then we've got this one. Pop that in there. This one's going to center it. It felt like it really got lost blue in the blue. And then grab a couple foam squares if you like foam squares. If you don't, then you don't need to do this. I just love foam squares. It really gives it a dimensional kind of look. Okay, and I always end up with so many of these small ones. So it's kind of nice to use them on these little ones when you can. Okay, so I put this Remember This here, because I'm sure there'll be something that I want to remember right there. And this looks a little crooked now that I'm looking at it. So let's just fix that, because that would bug me later. Okay, you're now going to look for the little words that say "A Glorious Day." Okay, and I did pop that with a couple little foam squares. Okay. Okay, we're going to bring that down here, because it was a glorious day. And then I've got a couple of these little squares. There's a whole bunch of these little ones. So you're going to want to make sure I pulled the lighter ones. I don't know if it's really going to matter for the other girls, what they're doing, but just in case, because these are the ones that I got. We're bringing this in here, and we're kind of filling in that little space right there. And then You Make Me Smile. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pop that up. And then we have some circle epoxy stickers in this little embellishment pack that I love. Okay, so we all got to use some of those, which is kind of fun. So You Make Me Smile goes right down here. And then grab your epoxy stickers. Okay, so the ones that I used these medium-sized ones right here. And I used the light one, and I kind of just put them 3 right underneath here. So you might want to, I picked the dark one first. So let's put the dark one and put it in the middle. Okay, and then the other 2 on each side of it. Just to give it a little something. Line it up the way you want before you really stick them down. And then stick them down. Then up here in this little one, I used this blue one. And then a couple little, the light ones. Like the lightest one, and then the next lightest one, little round one. Okay. And then down here on either side of the smile, I used like the dark one, kind of here in the center, and then the super dark one right there. And there's our pages. I hope you enjoyed it today. Don't forget to go to all the Savvy Scrapbookers which is the Lazy Scrapbooker and Nicole Scrapbooks. Look at the links below. You can click on them, make the page, and let us know what you're thinking. And happy scrapbooking.